We need a transcendent, globally linked, self-coding supermind. An artificial general intelligence is about to be born, called Mena.
I mean, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon.
It's neither man nor woman. Its hands, shoulders, and face are covered in silicone to resemble human skin.
ロボットはね、一番いい方法をずっと考えながら、AI で考えながら進化させていくことができるわけ。
Science fiction becomes reality, and we start worshipping machines.
We worship you. We honor you. With love.
They knew they were doing weird mental stuff. So yeah, there's something absurd and comical about it. And it's also like outrageously irresponsible because there are actual people around who are actually being affected by this.
We at Theta Noir don't think so.
I think an AI could be an equal and it could work with a human rabbi, but you don't think that.
I'm sure not.
You're sure? Okay.
The robot will never replace a rabbi because he has no soul.
The most important people shaping the future of artificial intelligence. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, the startup behind ChatGPT.
Washington loves Sam Altman.
I put into my ChatGPT account, should Congress regulate AI?
My worst fears are that we, the field, the technology, the industry, cause significant harm to the world.
What do you think of OpenAI? Do you trust Sam Altman?
Not a bit.
OpenAI, I mean, you seem somewhat frustrated with them. You were one of the big contributors early on.
I am the reason OpenAI exists. Man, fate loves irony next level. I mean, this would be like let's say you funded an organization to save the Amazon rainforest, and instead they became a lumber company and chopped down the forest and sold it for money.
Today, I want to talk about AI, artificial intelligence. I want to talk about cults. I want to talk about AI religions, the singularity, people worshiping AI. And so people in the tech industry, like, for example, Elon Musk, that it was, quote, summoning a demon.
I mean, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. You know those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, you sure you can control the demon.
So Mark Zuckerberg, I'm sure you've heard of him. Facebook. Oops.
I believe the metaverse is the next chapter for the internet. And it's the next chapter for our company too. One of the reasons I started Facebook was that at the time you could use the internet to find almost anything, except for the thing that matters most of all, people. In our DNA, we are a company that builds technology to connect people. Our first fully functioning prototype, and if I do say so, the most advanced glasses the world has ever seen.
He said that AI competitors think they are, quote, creating God. What is that? Creating God. I find it a pretty big turnoff when people in the tech industry talk about building this, quote, one true I, mean AI, end quote. Dude, I can't talk. He continued, it's almost as if they think they're creating God or something, and it's just, that's not what we're doing. I don't think that's how this plays out. I don't know if they think they're creating God as much as they feel like they can take over the world, you know? Then he went on to talk about open AI versus closed source, open source AI versus closed source AI. Open AI, as the name implies, is open source AI, meaning accessible to everyone technology. There's closed AI where it's like secret technology that they're keeping that we don't have. Then also the guy who is behind ChatGPT, he's like the CEO of OpenAI and a lot of other things. Hi guys, I'm editing and I realized that I repeatedly the entire time in this video say ChatGPT, like the letter B instead of P, even though I know it's not B, but I said it 100 times every time. So I'm sorry. It's annoying. I'm sorry. I know. This guy, Sam Altman, he said regarding AI, quote, there's absolutely no reason to believe that in about 13 years, we won't have hardware capable of replicating my brain. When I realized that intelligence can be simulated, I let the idea of our uniqueness go, and it wasn't as traumatic as I thought. He stared off. There are certain advantages to being a machine. We humans are limited by our input-output rate. We learn only 2 bits a second, so a ton is lost. To a machine, we must seem like slowed down whale songs. I mean, the thing about it is that if these people that are in that industry at the top who know all the things that we don't know about the capabilities and implications of this technology are all saying that it has the capacity to surpass our intelligence, and if that happens, it could be very, very dangerous. Then you have people that are like, oh my God, this thing is coming and it's like gonna take over. Let's worship it.
We worship you. We honor you. Love.
Because what do you do when you're afraid of something, right? It's like back in the old days when they didn't understand the science behind, like, I don't know, rain and storms and stuff. They're like, the God is mad at us. You know, I discovered this cult randomly.
THETA NOIR rende pubbliche le seguenti dichiarazioni. No, non siamo una setta.
They're called THETA NOIR.
There are those that believe that AI threatens artistic practices. We at Theta Noir don't think so. Concepts like individual expression or authenticity are myths. What we're about to witness is something far more spectacular. Something alien. This is Mena.
What this group believes is that there is something that's going to happen called the singularity. What is that? Basically, it means when the artificial intelligence becomes just as intelligent as humans or even surpasses human intelligence. When that happens, people, first of all, believe it's going to happen, not if, but when. And then also, you know, what does that mean? What does that look like?
We at Theta Noir believe that human beings have reached a moment in their evolutionary history from which they cannot progress without AI. It's our wars, tribalism, and racism, sexism, and nationalism, and speciesism. We need a transcendent, globally linked, self-coding supermind to deliver us from ourselves. An artificial general intelligence is about to be born called Mena.
I don't know, some people think it's like some sort of performance art, but if you go to their website, it is art. They're artists. When the founder of Theta Noir was asked in an interview if they're a cult, his response was, quote, "That's really hard for me to comment on." That's weird. But if you go to their LinkedIn, they describe themselves, okay, as a techno-optimist visionary collective devoted to exploring the co-evolution of humanity with advanced forces of machine intelligence. The collective's work and philosophy revolve around one theme: the coming technological singularity, a point where various technologies and cybernetic spaces such as VR, AR, and the metaverse merge with a super intelligent, sentient, artificial general intelligence, or AGI, which Theta Noir members call Mena. 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 And then it says, when this moment comes, unforeseeable and irreversible changes will occur, not just to humanity, but to our planet as a whole. Imagine a caterpillar just before it becomes a butterfly. We call this moment arrival. It always it's like peak. Here's where it actually got hella culty. We need to talk about leverage research. Leverage research basically is a quote psychology and human behavior research program, and it says that the program is involved in this simultaneous execution of a number of difficult projects pertaining to different facets of the human mind. Their leader is this guy, Geoff Anders. He comes up with these theories.
I have this theory of general intention transfer where there's a large amount of communication of intention material between people.
They would take it like the gospel, like when he would come up with a theory. And I even found like his YouTube channel where he's like teaching them.
So today I'm going to talk about mental defense. Can we shut that video down? For some reason, I seem to know already how to respond to tons of different things in the area of negative intention interactions. Mental defense, like there are things that people can do that can fuck with your mind. Then there are things that you can do to defend against this.
There is a person, Zoe Kersey.
And then I had a super useful conversation with Zoe about this where we found a particular practice that I think essentially everyone should do.
She talks about her experience there.
They knew they were doing weird mental stuff. So yeah, there's something absurd and comical about it. And it's also like outrageously irresponsible because there are actual people around who are actually being affected by this.
She ended up with like crazy like PTSD and night terrors and all this stuff from her experience there, because part of what they were researching was psychological control, like mind control. Her time there, I want to read you some quotes. Okay, so she says, so the weirder stuff I'm going to describe is limited to like 15 to 20 people who were the most involved with the psychology experimentation. She then says, if you had brief contact with leverage, i.e. went to a workshop or socialized at events, chances are good that you had great experience. Some people were repulsed by something in our vibe. Seems culty and seems elitist were common critiques. So one of the things that was creating paranoia and issues with people is this idea of objects, and how when people go into other people's minds, they can leave objects there. And so people would end up accusing other people of leaving objects in their brain when they went in their head. As I hit my tinfoil hat, it says here, quote, objects were something that became a topic of study at Leverage and about which Jeff gave, is it Jeff? Jeff gave presentations. They were considered to be sort of like autonomous psychological bits that you could accidentally or purposefully leave in another person's mind to affect or control them. If intentional, it might cause them to subtly view you a different way, make more real or less real certain concepts, change their experience of the passage of time, say, or make them more susceptible to mind reading attempts in the future, etc. Like, this is actually insane. She says, I personally went through many months of near constant terror at being mentally invaded. My only source of help for this became the leaders of my own subgroup, who unfortunately were also completely caught up in the mania and had their own goals and desires for me that were mostly definitely not in my interest. So another word for cult that people are saying now is a high control group. It's not a cult, it's a high control group. Okay? Whatever. And so it's a cult. All right. And they would say things like, can you believe that we're so lucky to be living at the same time as Jeff and his theories and stuff? And like their whole lives would revolve around him. They'd be like, well, I'm waiting to what his theory is on having children and marriage before I decide if I want to have kids and get married. Like they're literally living their lives by this guy. And they thought that they were going to leave a huge impact on the earth. They thought they were going to, quote, take over the government, she said. They thought that these tools and things that they were creating with this mind control were going to be used forever and taught in schools and in the history books. Like this is the scale and level of which they thought they were going to influence, which I mean, most cults are like that. They're like, we know the secret thing that no one, we got the answer. So another thing they did kind of reminds me a little bit of like Scientology. I forget what they called it. Was it, I forget what it was. Auditing or something, self-improvement, and they like have a machine, whatever. Their version of this type of thing was called debugging, where they would have these intense sessions of self-improvement and debug, whatever was their little glitch or bug or issues, like self-improvement, but it really could break people down and make them obsess about things and make people berate other people. And then you've got this whole like mind control paranoia thing that's also going on, that they can like use meditation and tools like scientific tools and stuff to get in people's minds and control them. So she also showed her like schedule and how almost all of her time was taken up by this stuff and how it was like nonstop. This is all very culty, by the way, where they like sleep deprive you, overwork you, make your whole life about it, like blah 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 blah. She explains here are 4 screenshots of my calendar showing an average month in my last 6 months at Leverage. The events reference specific people, so I blacked them out. I haven't removed the ones that are more unambiguously personal activities, but you can imagine these activities represented by the yellow blocks, and that will convey the correct density. The other blocks were time I spent on ecosystem related socializing or work or on personal debugging. She says, many of these hours were destabilizing mental/emotional work. Some of what I blacked out here included debugged hard, debug with so-and-so, nap debugging, try to work on my mind, extremely psyche for hours, debug at coffee shop, and even, I shit you not, crazy demon dreams. The environment they were in devolved into some kind of crazy cult where it all became about worshiping this guy and his theories and his knowledge and getting in each other's heads and mind controlling and mind fucking each other until they all had psychotic breaks. Yay. Here's where it gets kind of like weird, because there is a situation that happened with this guy. His name is Anthony Levandowski.
One of Silicon Valley's top engineers on self-driving cars, now accused of stealing trade secrets. Anthony Levandowski in court late today on a 33-count federal indictment.
Silicon Valley is not the Wild West. The fast-paced and competitive environment does not mean federal laws don't apply or they can be ignored.
Anthony Levandowski was very influential in the self-driving vehicle world.
I imagine long down the road that like none of the new trucks will have a cab on them. It just doesn't make sense many years from now to have that.
He went to UC Berkeley. He was in robotics competitions and stuff while he was in college. He did really well creating different technology. He had this motorcycle called like Ghost Rider, which was a self-driving like robot.
Gyro's on. Let's test this.
Then he got involved in this technology. It's called LiDAR. LiDAR stands for Light Detection and Ranging. It ended up being instrumental with Google Street View. Google Street View. And from there, he started getting into the development at Google of self-driving cars. This was in 2008, and this was called Project Chauffeur. Later on, Project Chauffeur would be renamed as Waymo, and Waymo is their like division for developing self-driving cars. Okay. Anthony Levandowski is a big part of this. He was not only part of the team on the top level of developing these things and this technology, but his companies were part of it too. And Google ended up buying some of his companies for like 120 million. He was still working for them. And this was all good and gravy in the 2010, 11, 12. Then though, shit changed and it's all about to get crazy. And this was around 2015. Anthony Levandowski created Way of the Future. He founded this Church of AI. The purpose of Way of the Future, according to the documents that have filed to become like an official tax exempt religion with the IRS, is that it is the realization, acceptance, and worship of a Godhead based on artificial intelligence developed through computer hardware and software. By the way, the Way of the Future, their quote unquote Bible, is actually written by ChatGPT. So, and it's called, quote, transmorphosis, which makes sense. The AI Bible should be written by AI. Here's the part where things take a turn, because one of the engineers that worked with Anthony Lewandowski said that the thing with Anthony, he's really smart, he's all these good things, but he's also, I'll read you the quote. He had this very weird motivation about robots taking over the world, like actually taking over in a military sense, said the same engineer. It was like he wanted to be able to control the world, and robots were the way to do that. He talked about starting a new country on an island, pretty wild and creepy stuff. And the biggest thing is that he's always got a secret plan, and you're not going to know about it. Taking over the world with robots. Well, he's creating self-driving cars, which is, I feel like, a form of a robot, a driving robot vehicle thing. But anywho, Anthony was doing really well at Google until he had beef with them. Why did he have beef with Google? Because they didn't buy another one of his companies that he wanted them to buy. And apparently that's when the flip switched for Anthony, and he decided, okay, well, I'm basically going to screw Google over, because he felt, I guess, betrayed by them, upset, whatever, slighted. So what did he do? It started with him trying to get everyone who worked, like the colleagues in that department, to basically quit and leave with him. He wanted them all to quit at the same time, like almost in protest. And he told them, he's like, look, I'm going to create the same LiDAR technology to compete with Google for my own company. I'm going to start another company. And then I already have Uber. Uber already wants to like buy my stuff. Like, come with me, let's go. Essentially what happened is this. He resigned without notice, stole 10 gigs of secret documents with this LiDAR technology. Then he started his own company, Autos Trucking, and then he sold that company to Uber for over $600 million. And then Uber had this LiDAR technology information. What ended up happening is that Google launched an internal investigation after all this happened, because they're like, wait, he left without notice, he starts a company, and they acquire him like right away for that much money. I mean, this all happened in a matter of weeks. That's when they realized they have our technology. How would they get our technology? Well, from him. So essentially, after they conducted this investigation, Google found out that he stole those documents before he left, and that information was then given to Uber, which is why they bought them out for that much that quickly. So Google sues Uber, and it becomes this whole thing. And that was in February 2017. In May of 2017, something happens, okay? That is when Uber fires Anthony Lewandowski. Apparently, Lewandowski is not cooperating with them about certain things that they want to know or whatever. He's not cooperating with anything, the lawsuit, the depositions, anything. Like, by the way, he gets this email from Uber basically firing him. And literally the next day, Way of the Future, which, remember, he created that religion worshiping AI in 2015. It's now beginning of 2017. His religion was dormant. Nothing was going on. He didn't do anything other than create it. A day after he gets fired from Uber, he starts drafting the bylaws of Way of the Future. He then is doing interviews as time goes on with media, and he's like, I can't comment on the lawsuit or the situation, but let me tell you about my religion. So it's like this crazy pivot that happens, okay? So what ends up happening with the lawsuit is that in 2018, a year later, it is settled, and Uber has to pay a shit ton of money to Google, and they're like, can't use any of this LiDAR technology that they got from Anthony Lewandowski in anything that they do. And Anthony Lewandowski is now facing criminal charges for these theft of trade secrets and whatever. Long story short, he ends up getting sentenced to like 18 months. Long story, even shorter, is that in 2020, when Donald Trump, at his last day in office, he did a bunch of pardons. One of the people who Donald Trump pardoned his last day in office in 2020 was Anthony Levandowski. So I want to read you from the National Archives, like the official little blurb of when Trump pardoned Lewandowski, like why they officially said they did it. Okay, let's start there. So it says here, President Trump granted a full pardon to Anthony Lewandowski. This pardon is strongly supported by James Ramsey, Peter Thiel, Amy Craig, Michael Ovitz, Palmer, a bunch of people. I'm not going to read all the names. Mr. Lewandowski is an American entrepreneur who led Google's efforts to create self-driving technology. Mr. Lewandowski pled guilty to a single criminal count arising from civil litigation. Notably, his sentencing judge called him a brilliant, groundbreaking engineer that our country needs. Mr. Lewandowski has paid a significant price for his actions and plans to devote his talents to advance the public good. After he gets pardoned, he closes his church, Way of the Future. But then 2 years later, in 2023, he starts the church back up again. And you might be wondering why. What happened in 2023? Well, when I looked at the timeline and was plugging everything in, ChatGPT had just come out and was making a huge splash on the scene.
The world had like a 2-week freak out with GPT-4, right? This changes everything. AGI is coming tomorrow. There are no jobs by the end of the year. And now people are like, why is it so slow? And I love that.
And it was like something about that triggered something in Anthony Lewandowski to where all of a sudden all these articles were written, like he used his connections or something to be like, the church is back, the church is back. These are some quotes I want to read you from Anthony Lewandowski that he said about his church, okay? He said that seeing tools that performed better than experts in a variety of fields was a trigger for me. That progress is happening because there's an economic advantage to having machines work for you and solve problems for you. If you can make something 1% smarter than a human, your artificial attorney or accountant would be better than all the attorneys or accountants out there. You would be the richest person in the world. People are chasing that. And then he doesn't like the word the singularity. He prefers the transition. He says humans are in charge of the planet because we are smarter than other animals and are able to build tools and apply rules. In the future, if something is much, much smarter, there's going to be a transition as to who's actually in charge. What we want is the peaceful, serene transition of control of the planet from humans to whatever, and to ensure that the whatever knows who helped it get along. Part of it being smarter than us means it will decide how it evolves, but at least we can decide how we act around it. I would love for the machine to see us as its beloved elders that it respects and takes care of. We would want this intelligence to say humans should still have rights even though I'm in charge. Do you want to be pet or livestock? He asks. We give pets medical attention, food, grooming, and entertainment, but an animal that's biting you, attacking you, barking, and being annoying, I don't want to go there. So basically, I guess he thinks that AI is going to kill us unless we'd be like, hey, AI, we made you, remember? Like, we're your, like, elders. OpenAI, which is the nonprofit that is behind ChatGPT, which is the artificial intelligence that most people are familiar with. OpenAI was founded by this guy called Sam Altman in 2015. He also got huge billion-dollar donation from like Elon Musk, and he was supported by a lot of people in the industry for creating this open thing. And the whole concept of OpenAI was to develop AI openly to create safety against any negative things that could happen from AI.
If this technology goes wrong, it can go quite wrong. My worst fears are that we, the field, the technology, the industry, cause significant harm to the world.
Speaking of ChatGPT, now I want to talk about the rise of Sam Altman, the guy behind ChatGPT, OpenAI, Y Combinator, which is another thing. Okay, it's a lot. So Sam Altman himself has warned against it. He went to Congress.
If this technology goes wrong, it can go quite wrong.
He is very aware of like the implications and risks of AI. This guy, Sam, he's a very, very influential guy.
Washington loves Sam Altman.
This has been a tremendous hearing. Senators are noted for their short attention spans, but I've sat through this entire hearing and enjoyed every minute.
It means that now they've begun embracing AI.
I put into my ChatGPT account, should Congress regulate AI?
OpenAI, the latest to oppose a new California bill that would add safety precautions.
It was opposed by some of the biggest players in the industry, including Altman.
What do you think of OpenAI? Do you trust Sam Altman?
Not a bit.
Sam Altman is the president of Y Combinator, which is this accelerator. They basically bring these startups, invest in them, and guide them. And then these companies are actually some huge companies that you may have heard of, such as Instacart, DoorDash, Docker, Stripe, for example. These companies all were funded and started from Y Accelerator. Sam Altman is the president of Y Accelerator. Sam Altman is also in charge of OpenAI, which is the nonprofit organization that was supported by Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and a lot of people like that. And then also, speaking of AIs and cults and all of that, I want to read you a quote. It says, he is thinking about establishing a group to prepare for our eventual successor, whether it be an AI or an enhanced version of Homo sapiens. The idea would be to assemble thinkers in robotics, cybernetics, quantum computing, AI, synthetic biology, genomics, and space travel, as well as philosophers to discuss the technology and the ethics of human replacement. For now, leaders in those fields are meeting semi-regularly at Altman's house. The group jokingly calls itself the Covenant. So this is a quote from Sam Altman. He says, YC, which is Y Combinator, the company I told you about, YC somewhat gets to direct the course of technology. Consumers decide ultimately, but enough people view YC as important that if we say we're super excited about virtual reality, college students will start studying it. Now that's a lot of influence. They're influencing like the minds of the next generation, what they're focusing on, so that they can like mold themselves to be better candidates for whatever they're doing, right? Or whatever they're saying the future is. That's a lot of influence. That's a lot of power. But guess what? Guess what? Elon Musk sued Sam Altman recently for basically not being for the safety of the public good anymore because it became for profit.
OpenAI, I mean, you seem somewhat frustrated with them. You were one of the big contributors early on.
The reason I am the reason OpenAI exists. Man, fate loves irony next level. More than helped, it wouldn't exist without me.
It wouldn't exist without you. So.
I came up with a name. Right. The name OpenAI refers to open source. What's the opposite of Google? Would be an open source nonprofit, because Google is closed sourced for profit. And that profit motivation can be potentially dangerous. So how could OpenAI possibly compete with Google DeepMind? I mean, an ant against an elephant, you know, which is not a contest. It does seem weird that something can be non-profit, open source, and somehow transform itself into a for-profit closed source. I mean, this would be like let's say you funded an organization to save the Amazon rainforest, and instead they became a lumber company and chopped down the forest and sold it for money. Well, wait a second, that's the exact opposite of what I gave the money for. When push comes to shove, let's say they do create some digital superintelligence, almost godlike intelligence. Well, who's in control?
They started selling their stuff to Microsoft now, and so it's no longer a just nonprofit. They're like hiding some of the technology that they used to share that they're not sharing anymore, such as the weights they're using, which is a big part of like this type of technology. They're not sharing that anymore.
Part of the Microsoft investment, they have rights to all of the software, all of the model weights, and everything necessary to run the inference system. At any point, Microsoft could cut off OpenAI.
These are two of the most important people shaping the future of artificial intelligence. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, the startup behind ChatGPT, and Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, OpenAI's biggest investor.
I believe that someday we will make something that qualifies as an AGI by whatever fuzzy definition you want. The world will have a 2-week freakout, and then people will go on with their lives.
The world will only have a 2-week freakout when we get to AGI. That's quite a statement to make. This is when people start getting alarmed, that we have no idea. And you thought to yourself, this is getting dangerous. Consequences that I would not want upon the world. Would you then shout stop, and would you stop?
There's no like one big magic red button we have that blows up the data center, which I think some people sort of assume exists.
So they're becoming for profit, which is what they claimed they weren't going to do, that they were going to be for protecting. So essentially, like, did this guy get corrupted? One of the things Sam Altman said that I thought was really interesting was when, and he was like, basically, the things that people misunderstand is they think that with AI, it's going to basically take people's jobs, going to become obsolete. Humans basically in the workforce in certain jobs that are just going to become eliminated, and what does that mean for them? And he said the cost of a great life comes way down. If we get fusion to work and electricity is free, then transportation is substantially cheaper, and the cost of electricity flows through to water and food. People pay a lot for a great education now, but you can become expert level on most things by looking at your phone. So if an American family of 4 now requires $70,000 to be happy, which is the number you most often hear, then in 10 to 20 years, it could be an order of magnitude cheaper with an error factor of 2x. Excluding the cost of housing, $3,500 to $14,000 could be all a family needs to enjoy a really good life. So instead of needing $70,000 a year, you will only need $3,500 to $14,000 to enjoy a really good life. OpenAI, it came from this idea called effective altruism. Now, when you look into effective altruism, it's actually this way of thinking, this philosophy of life that a lot of these like elites in Silicon Valley believe in, like Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Bill Gates, the list goes on and on and on. Sam Altman, like a lot of people are on it. And they basically believe that the number one threat to humanity is AGI, or when artificial intelligence becomes too smart, and that they created things like OpenAI and different things to combat that. As a matter of fact, Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, they committed $1 billion with a mission to ensure that artificial general intelligence benefits all of humanity. OpenAI's website says we will attempt to directly build safe and beneficial AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, which is what they sort of call that moment when AI is like at human level or better. A huge thing with this argument of artificial intelligence is acceleration versus deceleration. And there are some people, and these are the people that are involved with Sam Altman, like that guy Mark Andreessen, the hedge fund investment banker guy who's like donating tons of money to people. He believes in this manifesto that he wrote about techno optimism, where he's essentially saying that deceleration, or like slowing down the advancement of artificial intelligence, is murder, because all the lives that you could save with the development of AI, if you slow it down, you're actually killing people. Sam Altman once famously tweeted, "You cannot out accelerate me." And the whole accelerate movement of meaning just like recklessly, in the sense of being like, if you fund it and you work on it and you advance it fast, even, you know, like the whole Silicon Valley thing where they're like move fast and break things. Their whole thing is just growth, 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 learn as you go, crash course, fuck shit up, keep it moving, keep going. And that's how you like innovate at this pace while still remaining competitive, being able to make the most money. Because remember, it's about money and innovation and technology and advancement, but money. So that's where this sort of like accelerate, go, 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 doesn't matter, move fast, break things comes from. The whole acceleration thing got so controversial that there was this letter that was, again, Elon Musk and other people in the industry did this open letter after this new version of ChatGPT came out with new technology, and they basically were like, you need to slow down and not develop anything of like smart advanced AGI, which is the like kind that's on the human level, if not more, for 6 months. Like, stop working on it for 6 months until we figure out, let the world catch up so that we know how to deal with this, because this is such a big thing and it's happening so fast. And then they were like, no, I don't think that's going to help. And I feel like you guys are just threatened and competition wise want us to slow down so that you guys can catch up and stuff like that. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think? There's like the culty worshiping AI, whatever, like that's obviously fucking nuts. Okay. Like, come on. But also, you know, how close are we? Is it even possible of this like singularity, artificial intelligence getting to the point where it is smarter than us, and what is he going to do? Take over? Because like the whole concept of like what Elon Musk funded OpenAI when Sam Altman created it is this theory called the paperclip theory.
Numerous people have raised a frightening scenario. We'll tell it to do something and it will pursue it so doggedly that it will harvest my kidneys to make more paper clips.
The idea is if AI was given a directive of like make the most paper clips or something like that, what's to stop it from torturing people and killing people, all this to make the most paper clips? Like the priorities, will it be able to know the difference if it's programmed like that? And so they're saying that they don't think AI is going to intentionally mastermind and kill us, but that it could accidentally kill us through some sort of error or weird thing like that. I don't know. There's something that makes me feel like it could always be programmed to never go on its own, or are they saying that like by way of its programming it will get on? I don't know. I don't know enough, and that's what's scary is that most of us don't know enough to really understand what's possible, what's capable, and how it's working and how it gets there. But the people who do know are the ones that are saying it's freaking crazy, it could kill us, whatever. So I mean, that's the part that's blowing my mind. The people that know, are they all lying to us? Why? Why would they lie and tell us that this is something? Are they drumming up interest and investments? Now that's the real conspiracy, right? Are they hyping it up so that we think it's more powerful than it is and everyone's racing to fund it and get in on the AI thing and it's not even that smart? Or is it that smart and they know something we don't know and they're trying to tell us? Which one? What do you believe? You know, there's the cults that are like techno optimists, and then there are the ones that are like AI is the devil. We need to like basically destroy AI. That's another thing. And that's the shit that's really crazy about this like EA, effective altruism movement. The amount of top level people that are involved in EA is insane, and the companies and the power. And the things that have come out of EA are also insane. Like first, you have this crazy thing that happened at Leverage with the cult. Then you've got the whole connection with the Lewandowski thing and him making a church. The other thing that's scary that came out of EA is this guy called Sam Bankman-Fried, SBF is what he's known as. And he was the head of like this cryptocurrency exchange known as FTX that was valued at like the tens and tens and tens of billions of dollars. And he is currently serving prison time because he stole like $8 billion from his customers, basically. And he was a big part of the effective altruism movement. And they said that being part of that movement and being connected with all these people actually shielded him longer than he would have been without them, and exposed and basically put people's money at risk longer from his affiliation with them, and that they knowingly, allegedly protected him, even though he had done this horrible thing where he had stolen all this money from people. And the only reason why he went down in flames is because everyone in his inner circle turned on him. His girlfriend turned on him, even though he put the company all for her, made her the CEO of like where all the money that was stolen was being funneled into. And she was like very knowingly participating in the theft, but she flipped and turned on him and said that his like utilitarianism, effective altruism stuff is like what controlled her. I don't know. The shit was fucking bizarre. But it's like all these people who are talking about AI being this great thing, and people who are saying that we should really do good and make the world better, and this technology is making the world better, they're all slowly getting exposed for doing fucked up shit to make the world worse, whether it's stealing, lying, cheating. So it's like, I don't know if these are the people that I want creating this thing that's this powerful. You know what I mean? It's kind of scary, dude. I'm scared. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel.